My name's Daniel McBrearty, or Danny McBrearty, and I used to live in 173 Lone Moor Road. And that would have been around 1967, 68, or in that period. Just a year or two before that we had moved into to the Lone Moor Road. But I remember as a youngster growing up, whenever my mother and father got married first, there was three children. And I remember that we were going from flat to flat because there was no housing being allocated at that particular time to nationalist people. I remember the first time that I actually remember living in a house was in the Mazines Park down there at Pennyburn. And I was living in a room along with my mother and father and two other brothers. And we were all living in a room along with an uncle of mine and his wife and his family. So there was two families in the room that we were living in. But anyway, we eventually got a house, and it was over in the Lone Moor Road. Now that would have been around maybe 66, 65. I just don't remember the year, but it was around that time. It might have been a bit earlier. But as things moved on in the Moor when I lived there, my father took ill, and he took ill to an extent that we were all young, but we all had to do our own thing to try and bring in some kind of money to the house because we weren't any different to anybody else. Nobody had any money at that particular time, and everybody was exactly the same. We were just getting by and no more. But I got a job at a butcher's shop when I was about 12 and a half. I plagued the butchers for a job. And eventually I got into the butcher shop, cleaning the butcher shop and what have you. And I never got any monetary pay at that particular time. But one of the butchers in there, he's dead now, a man by the name of Bobby Sleven. And he used to live down in Donegal Place there, just off the Lickey Road. Now Bobby was a very good friend of my father's. And Bobby, he would have made sure every weekend that I would have got a Sunday dinner. Now, the story in that one was at that time, if you got a roasted chicken in the house, you were very rich because nobody got roasted chickens at that time. So it was my rule during the week, the chickens would have come in on a Wednesday, and I would have had to put boilers in and roasters into the freezer. The boiler was for to make soup and what have you, and the roaster was for to roast. But anyway, I used to make sure that I used to put all the boilers to the bottom of the fridge, put the roasters to the top. So when he was reaching in, because you got the first bird that came to eat, and I was getting a roasted chicken, and I got sausages and bacon or whatever it else was. And then during the week, I would have got what they called at that time a fry as well. So going on from there, I was still at school at that time, and I wasn't really politically aware. None of us were. We were just growing up, and it was just the times it was in it. And I remember at that particular time that the Relatives Action Committee or the Housing Committee at that particular time set up around 1968. They started to set up, and there was different marches that was taking place. But prior to that, just around that time, I remember, and I had no understanding what was going on. I remember a caravan being pulled across the Lickey Road at where McCann's shop used to be, McCann's fish and chip shop. And the van was pulled across the road, and I think the people actually was inside. It was Eamon McCann and a few others. I remember Eamon McCann because his name stuck out. But the family was by the name of Wilson, and they had two children. Now, it wasn't until after that I really realised what was going on there. Mrs. Wilson apparently, prior to that, had lost a child. And the child only lived 8 hours. And that the doctor who examined the youngster at that time put it down to the fact that they were living in those squalid, damp conditions in the caravan, and put it down to the child died because of the conditions that it was lived in. Now there was a family of four, and I was around June or something around that time. But I remember it was a Saturday afternoon. They pulled the caravan across, and it stayed there for 24 hours. And the following week, the caravan was then pulled across again. And eventually, anyway, that demonstration ended, and within a few weeks, I believe that family was housed because of there was so much disruption being caused to the Derry City. It wasn't Derry City House, it was a housing. No, it was a Derry Housing or Derry Council, or whatever it was at that time. But also at that time, I remember too that there was the new bridge had opened up the bottom of the bridge, and there was demonstration on the bridge at that time, and it was the Relatives Action Committee or whatever it was. I can't remember the name of the committee, Housing Action Committee or whatever it was. But there was two people arrested at that time. And I mind them because I know them. One of them was by the name of Neil O'Donnell, and the other was Roddy Carlin. Both of them were arrested for taking part in that demonstration and were charged for disorderly behaviour, and both of them served a month each in prison at that particular time. So we'll move along quickly then, and the year progressed then on from 68, was moving along quickly. And you'll forgive me if I just don't have the dates and things right, But I was at school at that time with a fellow by the name of Danny Devaney. And there was some kind of an altercation in the bog at that time between the Civil Rights Association and rioters and the loyalists and the cops. But whatever happened anyway, the RUC came into the bog side, and I think it was up around Wellington Street or some of those streets. It was around there and places that they run into a house, and the house belonged to a man by the name of Sammy Devaney. Now, Sammy was a man, he was an old man, as I thought at that stage, but he was in his 40s. And they went into the house and they gave him, and they beat him within an inch of his life that particular night. And they also had his children and anybody else that got in their way. Now, the reason that he says they did this was he says that Sammy opened the house, opened the door, and these two guys who had been throwing stones earlier, according to the RUC, had run through the house. Now, whether that happened or not, I don't know. But I do know that Sammy was beat within an inch of his life at that time. Subsequently, a few months after that, Sammy died as a direct result of the beating that he got that particular night. And I remember it was a terrible time. We were schooled and we were all shocked because they shown that we were at school. His father had been beaten, and next thing, the man's dead. So sort of things moved on from that there. There was no conclusion to that. They done reports into that, and they brought over, I think, a guy by the name of Compton or something like that. I don't remember the policeman. Come over and they done their investigations. And what they met was, what they were met with there was a wall of silence. Until this day, the RUC has never been held accountable for what they did. But then you take it back then to when I was growing up, all that was starting to resonate with me. There were so many things happening, and I didn't know what was going on. I really didn't know what was going on. But there was a lot of trouble. There was marches, and there was marches all over the place, and everybody was, there was just nearly a year of complete turmoil. But to move on forward from that year, sorry, just glanced at that. To move on forward, to move on forward, that anyway, to around the time of the Battle of the Bogside. Well, we lived in the Moor, as I was saying, and we lived across from the Brandywell. Now, my father, even though he was ill, had a passion for greyhounds. And he met, there was these two fellas from up around, one from Ballarone and Ballinderry and up around them directions. And there were two orange men. One of them was by the name of Willie Berryman, and the other was Willie McGugan. But there were two nice old gentlemen. My house wasn't a house where you discriminated against. We didn't know the meaning of the word, to be very honest, you know. But leading up to that particular march, my mother was sewing, because she always had a sewing machine and was sewing. And Bully McGurkin, he brought down this size of his that had all the braids had all come off it, and there was my mother sewing the size and all the rest of it. So we thought nothing of it, you know. As he didn't think anything of it, to be very honest. But on the actual day of the march, my mother knew there was going to be trouble in the town, so she said to me, "Boy, you're not going out the door." So my father was arsing about looking around, and it was like manna from heaven to him when he seen the car pulling up outside and these three orange men getting out of it and coming up into the house. And everybody in the house, well, looked, not that, geez, what are you doing up in here? Because we all knew that the town was in turmoil. There was droves of people walking across the street, droves of them. But the three boys had left their hats in the back of the car. And everybody was looking into the car and they seen the bowler hats. So another neighbour come along and she had noticed what they were doing, and she went up and she got a big newspaper and come into the house and she cut the newspaper and she put it over the hats so that nobody would see into it, you know. So the dilemma was then that the entire bogside was all being barricaded off at every access point to it was being barricaded off, and there was only one way that they could have got out, and that was going up by up by just this up halfway up a hill up towards Cricken. On your left hand side there was a compound or something in there. Termanbaga. So we were sitting and they were talking, how are we going to get these men out of here without any problems, you know? And the two men come in and they sat down and they said, what's all the trouble about, or what's going on? And they genuinely didn't have a notion. They were two just out boys from up a country coming down, and they come down to Derry for the march, and they took me to, as they did every time, down to Mealy's Bar. There was nothing unusual about it. But my ma said, "Oh, geez, you're in a bad place this day because of all the things that was ongoing." But my mother had my father's shoes and socks had prior to them coming in. And she could do nothing else but get him the shoes and socks to get them out. And he eventually took them out, and he took them up the coach road and then through that wee school, that Termanbaga, and got them out that way and onto Lecky Road and away round and out. But that was all right then. The Battle of Bog went on. And things got very, very intense. There was a lot of tension, a lot of trouble. And we were kind of held out of it, but I was working in the butchers, and I had to still go to my work. It didn't matter. And that was on the Saturday. I still go to work anyway. But having said that, things got so intense that my grandparents, who were alive at the time in Santalo, insisted to be more that they would take all the children out of the house and move them out to Lenamore Gardens until things calmed down again in the city, because there was a definite air of tension and fear, because the rumour was going around the B specials was going to come into the city, and they were going to take over the city, and they were going to cause wreck and ruin, and they were going to cause murder. Everybody thought they were going to be killed with these B specials coming in, because they had no discipline. They were just a share of boys that would have come in and would have bit the head of you and shot you as quick as look at you. But thankfully that didn't occur. But the Battle of Bogside did. And because all the rest of them got out to Lenamore Gardens, I was the only one allowed to stay about because I was working in the shop. Now that gave me the chance then, but I wanted. Of course, my father was as bad. He was down throwing stones as well, and he shouldn't have been down, but he bloody well was, and so was I. Now the bog itself, at that time, I remember that place, and it was chaos, it was turmoil. And I remember the rubber bullets being fired by these cops who were fired these rubber bullets, and then they were starting to shoot this CS gas. And I remember Bernadette Devlin had been running around, and I was up at the front like all the other young people of the day, and we were throwing stones, and we were throwing everything that we could get our hands at them, you know. But I wasn't really thinking what was this all about. I was enjoying the fun, to be very honest, you know. And that was until one of these uh, CS gas canister hit me in the foot, and the gas had up round me, and I splutter and a cough, and the water was under my eyes and burned the devil, and she got out to me, she said, "Get you way up here." And they got people, they pulled me away out, you know. But that ensued for 2 days until, it was about 2 days, until like it was a Monday evening about 6 o'clock when the army came in. You know, there's no point in talking about exactly. The riot was the same as any other riot. The boys were on the top of the flats, and they actually kept them at bay because the cops couldn't get past them. And until such times as the army come in, and then there was sort of a calmness, an uneasy calmness was set about the place, and the rioting stopped, and well, the pictures will tell you about the likes of Paddy Bogside got up and asked and all the questions to the army about who they were and what they were and all the rest of it. But that was all right. Once that sequence of events ended, we then set up a defence force around the area. I was 14 or something like that, and we all got these wee arm bands, and we were down guarding the barricades, and anybody coming in or out, we were stopping and looking. Not that it would have made any difference. I don't know really what we were doing, but we were just doing what we were told, you know. But then things moved on then from that, and we were going in then from 69 right on, and the troubles did continue. And eventually you had the police coming back into the bog side, and I remember the police coming back in after everything. I'm bunching here on years, sadly. But I remember the first two policemen that came into the bog side, because I knew one of them. I didn't know the other one so well, but I knew one of them, and his name was Roddy, Police Constable Roddy or something like that. He was a sergeant, and there was another boy, Christ, I can't remember his name, but they were two Catholic policemen, and they sent them into the bog side whenever the police and it was the military police. They'd done joint things and they worked their way back in. But this was a long, long time after it. And that was the first time then I remember the police getting back into the bog. But anyway, things took another turn. It didn't take terribly long, to be honest. And the army then turned on the people, and they started to raid houses, and there was people being arrested and put in prison for no reason. This was going into the 70s, 71, and there was a lot of trouble, and I still really didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand the political nature or the discrimination that was going on. I only learned that, but in hindsight, after all that. But what I couldn't understand was, this is 70, 71, those years, they just sort of flew past. There was so much turmoil and so much everything, they just went past. But it got to a stage anyway in the late 71, I noticed, it was mid-71, right? I noticed that neighbours of mine were being arrested, and they were being put into internment camps, and there was no charges, no. They were just put into jail, and they weren't taken to court, and they were not. And I couldn't understand why would they lift anybody. I did know there was things going on, but I couldn't understand why anybody or any force could go into somebody's house, arrest people, and put them in jail with absolutely no cause or no rhyme or reason. Couldn't understand it. And then I started to get involved in the Civil Rights Association. And we were at various marches around the place. And it didn't matter. We were marching and we were singing, and all the turmoil was going on, but there was nothing changing. Everybody was still in prison. But at that time, man, I was marching on. I was around 16, heading to 17. And my first I remember I bought a diary. My mother says, "You start writing a diary, young fella." Now, I could hardly write at the time, to be very honest. But I couldn't, you know what I mean? And she always had driven this into my head: don't you get involved in something unless you know what it's all about. And I said, right. So I started to write this diary, and my first entry in the diary was on the 1st of January 1972. And on that diary, the first thing entry was, I joined the Civil Rights Association today. That was 1972. So that was all right, the month of January went in. And we were marching as we did every Saturday. And I remember on this Saturday, we were going down to McGilligan Strand, and the big march, the big demonstration of McGilligan was happening. I remember I got on the back of the buses, and they were at the back of Guildhall at the time. And I got on the bus, and it was the first time I ever heard that record, The Men Behind the Wire. Now, that time, the records, they were, I don't know whether there was batteries on it or they winded it up, but the record player was going and this song was singing on the bus. So we were all right and pepped up before we got to McGilligan. But when we got to McGilligan, I remember we got out. I remember there was a sort of a place like maybe a reception area that we had stopped at. And the army was across the road at that particular time. It was the paratroopers. And we were all behind. Hume was there, and Austin Curry was there. No, I don't think Curry was there. No. Hume was there, and Ivan Cooper was there. And there was bus loads of people, you know. So we decided, well, we were going to go to McGilligan, whether the army was going to stop us or not. So we all marched down along the beach, one McGilligan, we marched straight down on the beach. And as we got towards the barricades, the parasols all run out, and we were up to our knees in water, because the tide had come in at the time. And we were all singing the usual songs, We Shall Overcome and everything else, you know. But the army came out, and they run at us like madmen with these batons, you know, and we really didn't know what the hell's good. We weren't doing anything to cause it at that particular time, but they run at us anyway. And there's this old man, he's probably younger than me now, but he was an old man to me at that stage, was walking alongside me. And we were linked arms, and the soldier came out, it was a paratrooper, he came out, and he lifted his baton, and he hit the old man in the head. And the old boy went down, and I remember saying, you bastard, you hit him, you wouldn't. And I was fit enough, and I lifted my foot, and I had him a kick where it hurt. And he went down, and as he went down, I gave him two or three, he got a couple of right slaps. What happens is that then his buddies got on, and they got him back. And I got the old man up, and he started to fire these plastic bullets, or rubber bullets, after us up onto the beach. So I remember running up onto the beach, along with the old man. We got him up out back on the road, and I seen it was Ivan Cooper. And Ivan Cooper was knocked out. He'd been hit in the head with a rubber bullet on the beach that day, and I seen he'd been hit in the head. I was sort of coming round at that stage, you know. And there were other people running with rubber bullets. They weren't plastic, rubber bullets. And they were showing the thing that the army had, on the top of the rubber bullets had them cut, and they had razor blades stuck in the top of the rubber bullets, and they were shooting the rubber bullets into the crowd at that time. But anyway, at this stage, I got a big lump of stick. It was a bit of a laugh, 2-inch timber, something like that. It was about 3 foot long. And I seen Hume. And Hume was he was reminiscing with the soldiers up at the wire. So I rung up behind him with a stick. And Hume seen me coming, and he pulled that stick out of my hand, and he said, "Don't worry, you want to get us killed." But it was only we were just running on adrenaline and everything else at that stage. But Hume was reminiscing with this guy, and then, like everything else, everything settled down and died. And we all got back to the buses and we got home. Well, the following week was quite an eventful week, because we were all on a high because of what had happened on McGilligan. Everybody, like, I was no different to anybody else. We were all the same. We were all And the politics of it still wasn't resonating. Well, it wasn't resonating with me anyway, you know. So that was all right. The morning of Bloody Sunday came, and I left Pennyburn. I was down at an aunt of mine's house, and I walked up a Strand Road, and I remember walking in through to the checkpoints. I couldn't understand it. It was paratroopers who were in the checkpoints. No, they were just out the license. We were all looking at them and what's these boys doing here? Because we remembered them from the week before. But I remember the day too, it was particularly, it wasn't a bad day, it was a cold day, but it was a nice day, it was sunny, and there was a great atmosphere. And I remember when we walked up to Craigan, up to the shops, up to the big field, the Craigan field, and we all got together at that particular time up there. And I remember I was marching. Whenever the march took off, we went down the street and everything was all good. We went down past the Bull Park and there was usual shouting at the army and all the rest of it, you know. But the banner I marched behind that day was the Chantal of Civil Rights Association banner. Because that was the crowd that I had joined. That was the organisation I joined the week previous to it, or a few weeks previous to it. So I remember now, when we got down to the park, down to William Street, the crowd broke away. Some of them was going up towards the Freeberry corner, and the rest, like myself, we had a wide pile of sense. We headed towards the barricades on William Street, and we were throwing stones and whatever we could at the army. I remember the big water cannon that came flying in. I think it shot out purple dye. I think it was purple. They shot out everybody was kind of dispersing, you know. And it was no big deal of a riot. It was just an ordinary, no, there was nothing particular about it, you know. But next thing, the army broke through. And I remember I was running down William Street and across a wee lane, which would have took you over past Pilot's Road direction at that particular time. But at the corner, before we run over, a rubber bullet run out and hit this fella in the head. Now, to this day, I don't know who the fella was. But we had a wee thing at that time that you would never leave nobody lying. So there was another man caught his feet, and I caught the top of his body, and we were running. And we run past, just past the probably one or two houses, and we come into the open ground where the Saracens was driving in. And the fella had been knocked out, but the bullets at that stage were being shot all over the place. But I didn't realise they were shooting real bullets. And we just didn't realise, but we weren't even thinking about them shooting real bullets. And the next thing, the boy woke up and he realised it because he was lying looking up and there was a wall and he could see the masonry bouncing out of the wall. And then he sort of come round and then he jumped out of our hands and he ran on. And thank God he ran on because we couldn't have run much further with him, you know. But we ran on and away. And we ran, and I remember I ran. And it was a wee small bit of a barricade where the perimeter was of round where Pilot's Row is now. And I went over a wire, over towards the flats. I didn't go out past the flats. I went in, and between the wee alleyway, between where the flats met, I ran between them and across that alleyway, across the courtyard where everybody was running, and I went into a garden, and it was St. Joseph's Place. And I remember I got down into the front of the garden, everybody was down, but at that stage I knew they were firing bullets. I knew they were bullets because I could hear the bloody things, and it was a different sound. I couldn't tell you what kind of bullet was, but I knew it was real bullets they were shooting. So I got my head down into the corner of the garden, and I can still hear the buzzing today, like it was an eerie silence, and I could hear the buzzing, you know, and they were coming from the walls. Well, I thought they were coming from the walls. But I looked over at the corner where the telephone box used to be, because I would have been sitting here, lying at that point, and Barney McGuigan and a few other people were all standing over, and Barney McFadden was there too, and a few other people were there. And I looked up. I was behind a parapet below small wall. I was kind of looking up over the top of it, and I seen Barney McGuigan going out, but with a handkerchief. And then I just seen as if it was someone held him, and just as if the back of the head went out, and he fell on the ground. And I said, Jesus, Maria and Joseph. Then I realised that there were people being shot, and people, I didn't know, it was alien to think that they were being killed, but they were being killed. And his head went down and he landed on the ground. Well, to be honest, I didn't leave my head after it. I kept my head down. I was terrified. And I eventually crawled down and into one of the wee alleyways where there was a lot of people. And we were all in a state of shock. The shooting must have lasted 20 minutes. I don't know how long it lasted, but it seemed to be an eternity. And I remember this old man, he was a wino. When nobody was on the streets, everything was calm, and he came dancing up the street. Now, I can't remember because somebody said to me he had a tin in his head or a bottle, or he was waving something. But he was waving away down, and we were all shouting and come on in. But at that stage, the shooting had stopped, and he had managed to walk down, and we knew the shooting had stopped, and then everybody started to go out onto the bog, and then the ambulance started to come in and everything else. But there were things that then I did take stock. I says, there's no reason why anybody should be shooting at us, because no matter about us rioting, no matter about all those things, we didn't do enough. We didn't do anything to justify the British Army coming in and shooting the people and shooting friends of mine the way they did that particular day.
So do you think 50 years on, that particularly the events around the Battle of the Bogside and that entire Free Derry period,
Yes,
was a turning point?
Oh, it absolutely was. Oh, it absolutely was. It made my mind up, because I was very, very determined then. Listen, these guys, there's something wrong. I really didn't know what was going on, but it was a catalyst at that particular time for myself, and possibly for, I would say, 99.9% of the people who joined the Republican movement after that. It had a detrimental effect. There would have been nobody been involved or got us involved only for those events. And like that was a sort of a small sequence of events coming from the caravan across the road to Sammy Devaney, and coming on through to internment, and then the McGilligan, and then on to them shooting us off the streets. And we could see no other way. No other way was we felt that we had to defend ourselves. And the only way to defend ourselves, well, it's history and it's academic, I believe that we had we meet fire with fire. And I don't make any apologies for that to nobody. But I do believe that if the events on Bloody Sunday hadn't happened, and those things leading up to it, but particularly Bloody Sunday, that we wouldn't be in the situation where we are today, with all the mayhem and death, and the people being in prison and the hunger strikes. None of that would have happened. It was an absolute catalyst for everything that occurred in Ireland, in Ireland, because it had an effect all over Ireland, because it resonated with everybody. And yes, most definitely.
So finally, why do you think it's important to remember these events?
Because I think it's very, very important that it's remembered. And I think it's very important that it's also recorded and documented. Because our future generations, and even current young people on the ground, having a notion as to what was the sequence of events that led up to all that, where we came from, what we lived through, what we had to encounter and endure, and then the struggle from that on. to bring it to where it is today. And I believe that if people forget the past, and I don't mean forget the past or live in the past, I don't mean that at all. But I mean is they must realise where we came from and why it's important that it's documented to ensure that nothing regresses back to anything like what it was then. So I think it's very, very important. And it's very important for ordinary people too that lived through it because they were traumatic times. They weren't normal times. People in Derry, the young people now, would have a clue. Just wouldn't have a clue. They think they know. And that's fair enough. Everybody's entitled to opinion, but until they actually live through it, and we're part of it, it has to be documented. Most definitely has to be documented.
Well, thank you very much, Danny. Thank you.
I don't-
Can we
Excellent.
just get one take of just you looking at Maeve and saying the Battle of Bogside was a turning point?
Yeah, well, yeah, Battle of Bogside, yes. Aye.
Just tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Battle of the Bogside was a definite turning point. It was a turning point for us all. And it was something we had no control over. It was something that was brought to us, and an absolute turning point.